Hi and welcome to the show. My guest today is an African thriller coming straight from Ghana. He's a Grammy-nominated reggae artist who's performed with greats such as Stevie Wonder, John Legend, Bono, and countless others. An activist as well as an artist, his music doesn't just sound beautiful, but also mixes in important political messages.
The road to peace has been rough. You were built compact and tough. Christian, Jews, and Muslims saying prayers to God on high. Rejoice, house of Judah, the lion is in Zion, breaking every chain to set the captives free. So here I am with my voice and the sound, walking your streets like a king without a crown. I can't forget you, Jerusalem. Yeah, yeah. Oh, people, I am ready to chart a new beginning. And every little circumstance will reach for a higher ground. It's not gonna be easy. Faith will let it be. And I know with you by my side, it's all gonna be alright. But I say, hey, I believe we can. Shine the light so bright.
Rocky Dawuni, welcome to the Scoop.
It's an
Rocky,
honor
it's a
to be
pleasure
here,
to have
yeah.
you here. Thank you very much, my brother, for making the time, for coming here. I know you've got a hectic schedule, so we really appreciate you coming on board.
It's an honor to be here too, so thank you for having me too.
My honor to have you here, Rocky. So, Rocky, let's go right back to the beginning.
Yes.
Early years, growing up. Tell me a little bit about childhood in Ghana. What are the first memories that you had? You were born in Ghana, in Accra.
Yes, I was born in the military barracks called Michel Camp, which is a few miles from the capital, Accra, in a town, the port city of Tema, right? Adjacent to Tema. And my dad, you know, his background was that he grew up from a traditional home in northern Ghana, where his father was chief, so traditional royalty, but he was the last born of his siblings, about 8 siblings. So the prospect of him being a chief was really far out there. So he decided to migrate. And then when he migrated, he joined the army. So when he joined the army, the profession that he chose in the army was to be a chef in the army, you know. And so we were born in an environment where, you know, my dad was, you know, very involved in, you know, in terms of cooking, and because he really excelled in that too, he was immediately, he was brought to work with all the generals and top echelons, the seniors of the military.
Did he have any formal culinary training, or did cooking was just something
It
that
was
he
a
loved
natural
doing?
thing, but once they saw that the military put him through all the major courses, and through all the major courses, he came out on top of it. So because of that, the generals just scooped him, and he was like their main cook.
And all born in barracks, in different, are you the youngest, oldest?
Me, I'm the second born.
Okay.
My older brother right now is the chief.
He's the chief,
He's
right.
the chief now.
Right.
So about, I think, 4 of us were born in the barracks. And then my dad afterwards, you know, he was done with his service in the barracks. So he moved to a nearby town called Koforidua. You know, so Koforidua is where I had a second phase of, you know, my upbringing, you know, went to school there. And then my father also wanted us to really be connected to the northern part, to the traditions. So he started having us go to school in the north too, so that every time we go to a traditional home, and then we are also constantly being trained.
So he saw it was very important for you to stay connected to your roots and where you came from.
Yes.
But also obviously recognize the importance of an education,
Yes.
and making sure that all of you got the best possible education that he could provide for.
Yes.
Did he have was any pressure on you in particular to go down a certain route? Well, you know, again, a lot of African, Asian families, you know, there's doctor, you know, accountant, lawyer, there's all these are the professions that you need to go into to make a living. But considering his career was not traditional in any way. He was a
Yes.
bit of a rebel.
Yes.
Well, did he allow you guys the freedom to kind of do what you wanted?
You know, the interesting thing was that he did not even have formal education because he grew up in the traditional home in there, and they didn't really have, you know, that time they have a lot
Schools
of
and
Western
stuff, yeah.
schools, and so he was more trained in the traditional. So when he came to the military, then he started really studying. You know, in addition to all the courses that he was taking, he started taking like schooling and stuff, you know, in addition to that. So, and then also being all the time with the generals who were taking their kids to the best schools, the best stuff. So those were the clique that he hang out with. So he also he was like, okay, if I am not a general here, I want to make sure that my kids, if they're going to join the army, they are going to be the generals, the best in there. So how do I make that happen? He recognized that was education, going to the best schools. So he got us into all the schools that the generals' kids were going. That was where we were going. So we were enrolled in the best schools.
Nice.
And then we started excelling in the school. And then he had a very opened, kind of vision of what schooling was. His whole thing was that he's going to equip us with education, and then we should make him proud by joining the army and becoming generals.
So the army was where his goal was.
Where
for
his
all
goal
of you guys.
was, yes.
For
yes.
all the boys.
For all the boys, yes.
Become a general.
To become a general in the army. And then, and I was just like, I'm going to be a general in something, but I don't know whether it's the army. But, I'm going to work as hard in school. So when I started in my infancy, just around the age of 5, I really recognized that I was really attracted to melody. Like everywhere when I heard music, there was something really so deep in me that drew me, to it. And then I also discovered that I could, make up songs, break down even songs that were popular. I will make a comment like, oh, this song, they should have done this, and my friends will look at me and be like, what do you know?
5, 6 years old.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, my parents were like, "What do you know?" So, so I knew that was really a path that I could excel. So I started, seeking out music, and then as I was growing up in the barracks, too, within my environment, too, there was all these kind of music, and those were the times too when the Ghanaian military was involved in politics. So the music that we found in the barracks was very hard-edged, revolutionary, kind of populist. And I remember when, this was just so visually, impactful in my mind, because it was kind of a turning point for me. Because one day I went and they were rehearsing Bob Marley's new album, which was Uprising, which was pretty much his last album, and an impressionable kid. So I was there, and then they kept working on one song. I remember coming in from the cold. They kept going, and then I was just like listening to another. I was like, that's a really good melody, And then I was excelling in school all the time because my father told me, he's like, you can do whatever you want to do, but make sure that the educational part, which I have invested and put everything, make sure you don't lose sight of that, because in the long run, whatever you do, that will be what will be the changing factor to make you stand out from everything. So when the opportunity came for me to go to school, and I remember this very well, I had qualified, and in Ghana too, everybody, the whole country sits for the exam. We call it A level, and only a few people are selected to the university. So here I am, qualified, but then I was just like, you know what? If I become too educated, I might not be a musician, because then I might be.
You might be a general.
I might be a general, or a doctor or something, So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go to the university. And my older brother, the chief, was in the university at that time. So he came home, and then my mom called him. My mom is like, your brother doesn't want to go to the university, although he qualified. He says he wants to be a musician, but we haven't seen him with a guitar, we haven't seen anything, but that's what he wants to do, So they come, and at that time too, I had started a little garden thing. I was growing vegetables. I was into farming too at that time, So my brother comes into my little farm garden and then sits down. It's like, oh, your things are looking good. It's like, but you know what? You could be a better musician if you were in the university. And then it perked up because he talked about the music in the university, and my ears perked up. And he says, even look, you're living in Koforidua. How many opportunities are there for you to do music? All the people who do music are in Accra. So maybe whilst you're in the university, you're gonna meet everybody, all the Ghanaian artists that are your, you want to
Peers,
be,
the people you want to-
you want to be like
emulate,
them.
yeah.
They're all in Accra, so you're gonna meet all of them. So you should rather be in Accra rather than be in the Koforidua. And that was really the most amazing idea I had heard. And I was like, okay, I'm going tomorrow. Yes.
We'll be right back with Rocky Dawuni. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Rocky Dawuni. Rocky, so you go to Accra, you go to university, you discover the music scene, obviously, but how do you kind of fit what you're studying in university with the music that you want to make? How does that work?
Well, as I was saying, even from the onset, I felt that my music has to have a message. There's a certain tangible aspect of it that has to be really make an impact in society, and to be a communicator too, you have to, apart from really learning, you have to also educate yourself and increase your intellectual base, So the choosing philosophy, I had a few options in terms of the course, but philosophy and psychology all of a sudden resonated with me because I had already been doing that in terms of apart from my music, like really reading various texts, holy books, going to every religion and then finding what the holy books is and then going there and try to educate myself on it. So I was already doing a lot of that and reading a lot. So I saw those courses as a means to also sharpen my ability to be a better communicator, because it will also give me the ability to also look at situations and be able to analyze them on a much more grander scale than the obvious.
Because what I was getting to was, a message to young people that you can have this passion for music or sport in particular, but it doesn't mean you don't have to go to university to do and follow that, to do something that will be very useful to you in your career in terms of academically.
Yes.
But then to also be able to pursue your passion at the same time. How did you juggle that? Did you, start performing while you were in university? Did you formed a band?
Well, an interesting thing happened, because immediately I got onto the campus, even the first day, I was, okay, all right, so who are my mates who are in music? And then there was a Ghanaian artist who was very popular at that time. And somebody told me, oh, do you know that Nat Brew's brother is our mate? Like, Nat Brew's brother is here? And he's like, yes, okay, can you introduce me to him? So we went, I met him, amazing guy, also a musician. He's just like, oh, I'm also working on music, but I qualified, I had to be here. So I was like, oh, so there are a few of us who wanted to do music, but then also were steeped in the academic world and have qualified and are in the university. And he's like, he's like, if you want to put together a band, there's a few guys that I know here who might be interested in that. So even the first day I got there, we were just making moves and then I found, one other friend, who was a keyboardist. He came from a family of all like accomplished keyboardists, but then they were also highly educated because their dad was like, I'm going to teach you piano to the highest level, but you also have to learn to the highest level. And he was also on campus, so he became part of us, and another friend of ours who became the bassist. So all of a sudden we put together the band. And everybody was like, oh, we can do covers. I'm like, no. I'm like, I write music. They're like, you write music? I'm like, hey, I've actually written a lot of songs. So they were very apprehensive, till then they heard the demos that I had done at home by myself with my little friends, and the demos were, a tape with a voice and humming the bass, and everybody was like, this could be cool. So we worked on it and then did a demo of about 3 songs. And by the following week, those 3 songs started making the rounds of the campus because people started hearing them, and everybody was like, "What was good? This is great. Who are these guys?"
This is long before YouTube and the internet.
This
or
is
anything.
long before YouTube. Yeah.
So this is people physically
taking
tapes,
and then people playing for other people.
Yeah.
So they're like, these guys are on campus. So everybody was like, wow, these guys need to play on the hall weeks of the university. Mm-hmm. So things started moving very quickly when I got onto the campus, like my brother said.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden there was a band, all of a sudden there was like a group of songs, all of a sudden there was a demo that was making the rounds. And then at that time too, Ghana was hosting one of the biggest music expos. Jermaine Jackson was coming to perform. All the top Ghanaian artists were performing on it. It was this place called Trade Fair, and that was so remote, because we saw everything like in the highest level. And I told the guys, I'm like, we need to play on that. And they're like, oh no.
We're not there yet. We ain't going there yet.
We're not there yet, I'm like, no, we need to play. I'm like, can we rehearse? So we started rehearsing the songs and all that, we had, and then on the day of the show, just because we were not professionals, we didn't know how the music industry, that part worked. We thought on the day of the show, we put on our outfits and everything, and then we walked to the stage. And when we got there, was like a lot of people trying to get in. Like, how do we manage our way in there? So I saw one of the guys, and I saw like he was moving and I was like, he might be one of the crew. So I went to him and like, we're from the University of Ghana. We are one of the best, groups on campus. And we want to play on the show. And it's like, my brother, these things are organized long in advance. That's how it works. And it's like, man, it's Jermaine Jackson and all the top stars in Ghana, You guys, nobody knows you. I'm like, but we're from Legon. It's like, so why are you guys not studying to be doctors and all that kind of stuff? You're doing music. So all of a sudden, there was somebody said, Kwame, so who are those guys like, come here. And it's like, oh, boss, there's these guys, they're from Legon, they're a band. And they said they want to play on the show. It's like, Legon, that's my school, So it's like, he came and said, so what are you? I'm like, we want to play. It's like, you know what? These things happen, but I'm gonna give you guys a chance, a shot. When the last band finishes, he said, there's no slots, but when the last band finishes, whilst people are walking out, I'll put you guys on stage. What do you think about that? You're like, fine, deal. So we walk in there, bidding our time. The concert was going on. The last band finishes, and then they announce us on the stage. They're like, well, this is a band from the University of Ghana, who most of you probably don't know, and they call Local Crisis. So, ladies and gentlemen, Local Crisis. So I got, and I knew that it was the shot of a lifetime.
Hit them first time.
So people were moving away. And up till now, I think probably that was one of the best shows we ever did. I remember our drummer going onto the drum kit, and I saw this fear on it because he looked at the drum kit. It was the electronic drum kit. He's never really played one. So he turned to the keyboard. It's like, so what do I do? He's like, keep the beat, the kick, the snare, keep the beat. That's what you need to do. So he rolled in. We started. By the second song, everybody that was going out came back. It was like a sea of people there. And we were just performing. I remember I took off my shirt and jumped in the crowd, like, all the crazy stuff, By the following day, our name was everywhere.
Wow.
By the following day, we were booked. All of a sudden, people came to the campus and started booking us on all the major shows that were going on in Ghana. And that was how we got launched. That was the starting point.
We'll be right back with Rocky Dawuni. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Rocky Dawuni. Rocky, what happens next, Rocky, after this kind of exposure? I mean, university life can't be the same again.
Yes.
I mean, it's you guys are now sensations, you're stars.
Yeah.
How do you concentrate on studying and finishing a degree? It's not easy to get a degree in philosophy and psychology.
Yes.
So how do you concentrate? You've had a taste now of fame. And young artists can be forgiven for just saying, bugger this, I'm a star now.
Yeah.
I don't need to finish my university. I need to go and make records.
It was kind of the same situation. But another interesting thing happened, on campus because, it's like my brother telling me, you got to go to campus. So it was really kind of the ignition point. First of all, my band started. I also met my life partner, who became my manager and also has been very instrumental in my career.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about this meeting.
Yes.
So what was Kerry doing when you met her?
Kerry was, she had come as an exchange student from UC Santa Cruz to our school. And I remember the day that I was heading out to go and meet Nat Bruce's brother, I heard like all these noise going on, like, it was one of the hall weeks, they were making noises, singing. And then I saw this lady in dreadlocks, white lady in dreadlocks, So I went up and I started chatting. I was like, are you a reggae music fan? And it's like, yeah, come from. And then she, started talking. I was like, oh, this artist, this artist. So we kind of really connected right there,
On the music front.
On the music front, and then we started really talking and chatting. And then she was really when we started putting the band together. So she was there when we were playing on cardboards and stuff, and saw like, the music coming and all that. So after that, when the big ignition happened, we were being, one of the things she advised, because she saw that my vision was really to really expand my music, So she said, one of the things that you could do is actually really travel and try to expand your music and learn more, because that's the only way you can really grow this vision you have. So maybe you can come and visit the US for a while and then check the music scene. And because she lived in Los Angeles, and it's like Los Angeles too is where everything happens. Yeah. So that would be probably the place that will be an inspiration for you. So when my ignition happened, and all my band members were like excited. Oh, okay, we're gonna do. I was like, I want to learn more. I just think that although we've had this big success and all that, my vision is not to be only relevant within Ghana or Africa. My vision is to be relevant all around the world, because the message that I feel that I carry, that I want to really bring around the world, requires a lot more education, a lot more exposure, a lot more, being able to see what is out there so that I can continue to grow in that. So for about 6 months, we started playing everywhere. Everybody was talking about local crisis. Everybody was talking about local crisis. And then I had the opportunity of traveling to the US. And
was that the first time you'd been outside of Ghana?
First time.
First time.
Yeah.
What experiences?
Oh my God. It was just like, going to the US. But then one of the biggest stories of my life also happened when I landed in the US. I was picked up at the airport, and at that time they were like, there's a show going on right now, because some of her friends work for a record label. And, Delicious Vinyl, which put out Tone Loc and everybody, So she's like, I know you love music, but then, and then her sister too worked for Polygram, who was, one of the chief publicists for Polygram. So here I was, my girlfriend at that time, she was also connected to a lot of really major music
industry
people.
Players,
yeah, and she's like, oh, there is a U2 was doing a tour and they're playing a concert, so we should go and see that concert. So we get all these passes, and I remember that day I went in, and she's like, there's all these T-shirts here. You can wear any of the T-shirts. I've just come from so I put on this really cool T-shirt. Put on a leather jacket, trying to look really cool, American. with my badge that they gave me. Little did I know that, at that time the height of U2 was big, the biggest thing that was happening in Los Angeles, and this was like huge. So we go there to the concert, and there were different levels of backstage. And my pass really gave me access to the highest level. So I walk in, like a deer in the headlight, just like, because I was like music. I walk into this room, a small room, Bono, Quincy Jones, I remember at that time, like a whole lot of film stars. And I remember even running across the Milli Vanilli guys, but they were even, at that time they were in the lower, what's it called? They were not even the highest.
You don't want to be advertising Milli Vanilli
that time,
too much.
That was during the fall. I saw like a lot of, So I walk into this room. I mean, this is, you know, this in terms of my path, because it's important and I would love to share that. So I walk into this room and then I like looked around. I recognized Bono. He was chatting with somebody on the side because I had been a fan of U2 too whilst I was in Ghana. And then I see somebody say, "Hey, come here." You know, and I go, it's like, wow, I've never seen anybody wear my t-shirt. And I'm like, what t-shirt? He's like, t-shirt you're wearing, that's my t-shirt. And I looked and he said, "Listen up, Q." And it was Quincy Jones.
Oh, wow.
So Quincy Jones, I walk into this room, Quincy Jones sees me and he's excited because he sees me wearing his shirt. And I'm like, oh, I just got back, I'm from Ghana. It's like, you know, I just came back from South Africa. I was there with Nelson Mandela. We're working on a project, you know. So me and Quincy really started
talking about Africa.
The
common denominator.
The common denominator right there. You know, so we spoke and he's like, you know, I want to do something. Like, you know, you're a brother, you just came into town, that you're right here with me. I want to sign this t-shirt for you. So Quincy signs the t-shirt for me. And you can imagine, first time leaving Ghana, going out to the US, first concert that I go to expose, I'm in this place, I meet Quincy Jones, you know, people that was just, I mean, unimaginable to me, you know, at that time, you know. And he signs my t-shirt. So I get back that night, I'm just like, I could not. So I take that shirt, and up to now I've not worn that shirt. I put it in there, I was just like, this shirt is about what I'm gonna do in America, what my story is gonna do in America. Because if I walked in there and met this man who is one of, you know, produced some of the most, you know, epic records to define music. And I came here too because I felt that the need to do music, then there is some bigger force that is really guiding my path. And I hang the t-shirt in the closet since that time, and I haven't worn it.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Make sure you catch The Scoop next week as I continue this exciting conversation with Rocky Dawuni. From me and the entire team of The Scoop from Nairobi, Kenya, thanks for watching.
Be mindful of the stones you throw. They go around, come around, back at you. A word you speak is promise you vow to keep. As you sow, so shall you reap.